use them where I can. Do you like having a smaller staff where you have more control? I say personally, it probably benefits you. Like you said, you can go be the associate director anywhere you want to be. But
yeah,
and you can kind of control men's basketball, whereas instead of controlling us three, we work for you for men's basketball.
Yeah.
Like you said, you like to see more people.
I'd like to see more people, but I don't really like to see them under me, really, because I'm not really good at giving out my jobs because I'm really picky on how they're done. So I'd just rather do it myself, honestly. But I'd like to see more people just to take some of the workload off of the entire office. I mean, if somebody's writing a violation report, I don't care if I write it or somebody else writes it because it gets submitted. But like me specifically in my sports, it's not that I don't trust people, it's just I know my way that I like to have it done. And I want to make sure that, especially with men's basketball, that it's done that way. Because it's such a high-profile sport, and it obviously can take down the program. So I don't want any more people. I don't want an assistant director under me, and that's why I have 4 students, because I just don't want that. Because I don't want to feel like I have to be giving him really important stuff to benefit his career, honestly. But I need the help by doing like tedious stuff. But yeah, more staff is always great.
Can you go in a little bit more detail about what exactly the 4 law students do for you?
Yeah.
Or
right now,
But yeah, cause you already talked about this. You have law students and you have like operational intern students.
Yeah, those are kind of rotating right now.
Okay.
They just kind of come and go. You know, they're undergrad. We have, I think, 1, 2. I don't even really use them that much.
Yeah.
Honestly, they help out with the eligibility side a lot. Just doing spreadsheets.
So it's not major.
Yeah, nothing really. The law students, what we got them for, researching the case precedent, helping us write our waivers and our violation reports. And they help me out with a lot of practice hour tracking. We have to track every single hour the kids are doing anything. Voluntary, not voluntary, in season, out of season, all this stuff. So they help me out with a lot of that tedious stuff. I have to approve every single recruiting trip and every single official visit and all the expenses that are with that. So if a kid comes on campus, like we have to make sure they only ate 3 meals a day. You know, it didn't go over $50 for the meal. Where they stayed, who drove them here, did they fly, everything. So
who paid for the flight and
everything,
stuff like that?
all that stuff. So what the coaches will do is submit a packet at the end of the visit, and it has all that stuff in there, and then I'll give that to the law students. And they'll go through it. I've made a checklist for them. It's pretty simple. You know, just go through, like, is it in here? Does it meet this, 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 this? And then they just go through and approve the visits. I mean, and there's always something that trips people up, because, we can pay for the kid and the mom and the dad to come here and stay in a hotel and eat the food. But we can't pay for the brother and the sister. I know it sounds stupid, but we can't. So sometimes they'll include a sister on the thing. We have to ask the coach, did they pay for their own meal, or did we provide this meal? Right. So that's why we have to check that stuff.
And just going off of that, but let's say a coach accidentally does do something against the rules and regulations. What is the process, and like exactly what goes from there? Like once you realize it, what do you do at that point?
Well, I'll try to find a way that it's not. Honestly, I'll try to see if there's any rational reason for that not violating a rule. And if I can find a few scenarios, I'll call the coach. Like, is this really what happened, or did you mean to do this? Kind of just get the whole facts, lay it out. If it was a violation, then what we do is I just write it up, or have a law student write it up, find some case precedent, see what the penalty should be, throw it in there, try to mitigate it down as much as possible. Like, this is what the case precedent says, but our case is different because of X, Y, and Z. Submit it to the SEC. And then they'll come back with what our punishment is.
Okay, so the SEC comes up with all the penalties and whatnot.
Yeah. Unless it's a major infraction, and then it goes to the NCAA. But all that little stuff, it just goes to the SEC, and they'll say, we approve your violation report, or we don't, and then they'll say, this is what we think the penalties are. So that's pretty much how it works for those little ones like that.
And I know you said something about one of the compliance people got fired for possible, cheating in that case. Like, I guess that would be something like it came to them, and they, instead of them reporting it to the SEC, they just kind of overlooked it. Was that what the deal was? Or?
No, it really didn't happen that way. He was more fine for personal reasons, and he just really wasn't doing his job. He didn't cover anything up, or he just wasn't there a lot. So.
But that could possibly happen.
Yes.
If someone covered something up.
If we cover it up, we're fine.
Yeah.
There's really no question. So.
I don't know if I'll ask already. Can you just state between a major and a secondary violation? The difference between those and what the hierarchy is between those and like who reports to.
And that's actually getting ready to change too.
I mean, I know basketball is all changing.
Yeah. Well, the whole enforcement arm of the NCAA is getting ready to change. But right now, you have a major violation, which is a substantial recruiting advantage or the same activity repeated over a continual amount of time. So if you get 7 secondaries and they're all similar, then that could become a major. Secondary is insignificant recruiting advantage or eligibility or something, or isolated in nature. It's just one time, it was a mistake, whatever, move on, file it. But like I said, you can't say it happened 7 times over a month that it's isolated in nature. That's a pattern that could become a major.
What would be an example of like a secondary
violation
incident? Yeah, you could say.
The best example here is Kelvin Sampson, because one phone call to a prospect is secondary. Like outside the time you're allowed to do it is a secondary.
Okay.
Right? He had 400. That's a major.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
You guys get on the hook, and you may not remember it, but I guess the Ohio State guy, that one sex offender who posted numerous stuff on Twitter.
yeah.
Well, how does that fall in? That might not have anything to do with our project, but I was curious about that. Didn't Ohio State compliant send out, to try to prevent it with their student athletes, but.
Yeah, what we usually try to do is just contact the person and just tell them to stop. I mean, we do a lot of cease and desist letters. Yeah, stuff like, for example, there was a guy before this football season started. He created a Tyler Bray shirt, and it has his tattoo. Have you guys ever seen his tattoo? Well, it has stars on the back, on his back, and then each star is like the letter of his name. So it says Bray across the back. So this guy made a T-shirt that says that, and he was going to sell them and all this stuff. Well, nobody can promote a student athlete. They can't make money off a student athlete's name or image or likeness. So we had to send him a cease and desist letter through Twitter, actually, because we didn't have an email address for him. So we had to tweet him a cease and desist letter and get that taken care of. But that's the kind of piddly secondary stuff you have to deal with.
And going back to the education with the athletes and it just informing them of everything that they need to understand. I know on your website that you have like all the information about like gambling and what can happen. So if a student athlete does, let's say, gamble or bet for any kind of reasons, does it come back on the entire team, the department, or just that one student?
Just that kid.
Just that kid.
And we actually had that end of last year. We had 2 foreign swimmers who were gambling, internet gambling on sports. And they were stupid. They were at a tutor session, and one of them was like asked his tutor, do you think the Boston Celtics, and I don't know who they're playing, combined are going to score more than 200 points? And she goes, why are you asking that question? He goes, well, I got to place my bet before we get this tutor thing going. So of course she calls us. We call him in. We ask him all these questions, and then we're like, is there anybody else that you know of that's doing this? He goes, yeah, my teammate. So then we called him in, asked him the same stuff, and he's like, anybody else? Yeah, my teammate. So they turned each other in,
Right.
And actually, this was the first case that the NCAA took under their new policy that if you gamble on your own, they gambled on the Tennessee Vanderbilt basketball game. If you gamble on your own institution, you're permanently ineligible. So we shipped them back home to Austria or wherever they're from. They can never compete anywhere in NCAA ever again.
Now let's say that they wouldn't have competed against Tennessee, but they betted on the Boston Celtics.
If they would have just bet on NBA, then they would have been ineligible for a year.
Okay.
It's the punishment's 365 days. So from the day that they gambled, 365 days they would have been ineligible. But once you gamble on your own team, on your own institution, you're done.
Permanent.